Thank you for your time. Today we're going to talk about making the ELPS and the TELPAS connection grades K to 12 overview. This presentation is designed to familiarize campus staff with the holistically rated components of TELPAS and how the ELPS, in conjunction with the TELPAS, supports sound instructional practices for English learners. I'm going to apologize in advance for the long presentation. I will do my best to be fast. You will be provided with a proficiency levels descriptors document attached to this presentation for future reference. At the end, you will take a short quiz. We need to remember that the term ELPS refers to English learners. The objectives for the session are to look at the connection between the ELPS and the TELPAS, to see the benefits of using the ELPS to teach throughout the school year, and to lay the foundation for the spring training for new TELPAS raters. ELPS are federally required instructional standards designed to ensure that ELs are taught the academic English they need for school purposes. TELPAS is a federally required assessment program designed to measure the annual progress that ELs make in learning the English language. Raters are the teachers trained to assess ELs for TELPAS. The ELPS is the instruction, the objectives, and the TELPAS is the assessment of those objectives. Both ELPS and TELPAS encompass the four language domains, listening, speaking, reading, and writing, in the four proficiency levels, beginning, intermediate, advanced, and advanced high. So who takes the TELPAS? All ELLs in grades K to 12, including those whose parents decline ESL services, are assessed annually. In extremely rare cases, an EL served by special education may not be required to either 1. Participate in one or more of the TELPAS language domains, and this is a decision by the ARD or the LPAC committee, or may be eligible to participate in the TELPAS alternate. The TELPAS encompasses 4 domains: listening, speaking, reading, and writing, at 4 different levels: beginning, intermediate, advanced, and advanced high. Now, these 4 domains compile the composite rating, and each of them is accountable for 25% of the grade for the TELPAS score. TELPAS uses online tests to assess from grades 2 to 12 the listening, speaking, and reading components, and a holistic grading process from grades 2 to 12 to assess the writing section. The results are used to set learning goals, to keep parents and students aware of annual progress, to inform the ESL program, to report performance to the public, to evaluate the program, the resources, and the staffing patterns, and finally, to evaluate the district and campuses. Let's look briefly at the ELPS. The ELPS add to the content area TEKS and do not substitute or constitute a separate curriculum for the ELLs. Content area teachers provide instruction in both grade level content area TEKS and ELPS. The ELPS components, as seen in this chart, we see that in Section A provides the rationale for standards and their integration into all subjects of the foundation and enrichment curriculum. Section B sets forth the instructional framework for, number 1, to know the student's proficiency level; number 2, to use that information to linguistically adjust content area instruction; And three, to intervene in especially intensive ways to accelerate the second language acquisition. Section C contains the students' expectations that specify what the students need to learn. Section D contains the proficiency level descriptors, the PLDs, that describe how well the students communicate in English. Examples of student expectations and the proficiency level descriptors. This slide shows the relationship between the student expectations and the PLDs. The student expectations are designed to be able to effectively integrate into content area instruction by any content area teacher. They do not require a particular specialization in second language acquisition. What is the ELPS and the TELPAS connection? The ELPS is to TELPAS what the TEKS are to STAR. That means that the ELPS are the objectives and the TELPAS is the assessment of those objectives. For the holistically rated components of TELPAS, the student expectations are not assessed in isolation. They are reflective holistically in the PLDs. The online TELPAS listening, speaking, and reading tests for grades 2 to 12 do not use a holistic approach. Each test question measures a specific student expectation. The PLDs are intended for use in ongoing instruction and should not be thought of as information to use just for the TELPAS. Educators assigned to be the official TELPAS raters of ELL are trained to use the PLDs accurately and consistently statewide. How well is the student currently able to understand and use English during the grade level instruction? Teachers should clearly understand that this is the main question they are answering when they holistically assess students using the PLDs. What are the benefits for the raters when they do the TELPAS training? Well, teachers trained as TELPAS raters internalize the PLD so that they are able to naturally and automatically assess the students' English language proficiency levels during ongoing classroom instruction. This benefit is going to enable the teacher to make effective linguistic accommodations in class, which is going to support one, the learning of academic subject matter, and two, the learning of English language in itself. What other connections are there between the ELPS and the TELPAS? Well, teachers use the ELPS and the PLDs all year long during instruction. TELPAS raters are trained in depth. It makes the ongoing and formative use of PLDs easy. The information about the assessment for information and teachers. TELPAS information is used to help teachers adapt their instruction according to each language level of their assigned students. This is the information that I shared with you at the beginning of the school year. Basics of the TELPAS holistic rating process. This slide is for K-1, so we're going to skip. Now, grades K-12. Note that for ongoing formative assessment in grades K-12, teachers use classroom observations and interactions in addition to student writing samples to monitor and promote growth in English language writing proficiency. However, for TELPAS, only the student writing collection is used when assessing English language writing proficiency. Information from classroom observation and interactions is not included. Things to know about the TELPAS Radar training and the administration procedures. It is recommended that districts and campuses determine in the fall who their TELPAS raters will be in the spring. Let's look at the next slide for the process. New raters in grades 2 to 12 and those that have not completed calibration in the last school 3 years complete an online basic training course and practice writing activity in the domain of writing. New raters and returning raters complete calibration activities to ensure that they are prepared to apply the PLD rubrics consistently and accurately. Returning raters have the option of reviewing the online basic course if desired before completing the calibration activities. For grades 2 to 12, each set of calibration activities set contains 10 writing collections. Raters successful on the first set do not need to calibrate further. Only individuals who do not rate accurately enough in the first set will complete the second set. This is for K-1. We move to the next. Grades 2 to 12. What are the credentials for writing? A rater does not need to have the student in class at the time of the spring's assessment window. Teachers are still required to assemble student writing collections. Raters must hold a valid Texas education credential, such as a teacher certificate or a permit, and be properly trained. For the listening, speaking, and writing, in rare circumstances, an EL may be approved for a special administration for the listening and speaking domains. In this situation, the teacher must rate the student in all the eligible domains. A teacher or a substitute become a rater if they have the student in class at the time of the spring assessment window. They are knowledgeable about the student's ability to use English in instructional and informal settings. They hold valid Texas education credentials, such as a teacher certificate or a permit, and are properly trained. Calibration with others. In determining the proficiency ratings of their assigned students, raters are highly encouraged to collaborate with other teachers and school personnel who have knowledge of the students' English proficiency. District validity and reliability procedures. Districts are required to implement procedures that ensure the validity and the reliability of the holistic rating process. Process may vary by campus, but from 1 year of the day of testings, campuses maintain documentation of the procedures followed. There are TELPAS audits, and this is done by TEA in order to examine that the ratings of teachers reflect appropriate and consistent application of the PLD rubrics and that the school district personnel follow training and test administration procedures. Essentials of second language acquisition. Jean Cummins introduced the iceberg model to show two types of language proficiency: social, the visible portion above the water surface, and academic, the submerged portion. Both types of language proficiency are important to academic success. Students must be able to understand and use the English for everyday social and routine classroom interactions, as well as the English they need for assessing and negotiating learning, processing cognitively demanding information, and building conceptual understanding. BICS, the top part of the iceberg, is the everyday language needed for daily social interactions. CAPS, which is the bottom portion of the iceberg, is the language needed to assess learning in academic settings. This is the language the students need to in order to think critically, understand and learn new concepts, process complex academic material, and interact and communicate in academic contexts. COBS takes longer to develop than BICS. There is a distinction between language proficiency as a whole, academic achievement as a whole, and the overlapping section, academic language proficiency. Academic language proficiency is not the same as academic achievement, but is an essential enabling component of academic achievement. Else, who have academic language proficiency understand the English that makes the learning of academic concepts and skills fully accessible. Academic language proficiency, therefore, provides the foundation for and access to academic achievement. Social language proficiency relates to social interaction outside the school in everyday settings, while academic language proficiency relates to content based instruction language within the school frame tied to school life. This graphic illustrates that second language learning is a cumulative and spiraling building process. The language skills associated with a given level are prerequisite to the broader range of skills at the next level. The arrows indicate that language continues to develop beyond the advanced high level. This level is not intended to be equal to the English language proficiency of a student whose first language is English. Over time, advanced high ELs understand finer nuances of English meaning, use more natural phrasing, and learn low frequency words, idioms, sayings, etc., that are typically familiar to individuals whose first language is English. Regarding the rates of progress, students move through the proficiency levels at different rates depending on factors such as age, language facility, and instructional variables. Some students progress more quickly in certain domains than others. In addition, students may move through certain levels more quickly or slowly than other levels. Without appropriate instruction, for example, some second language learners may experience a plateau at the intermediate or advanced level. These students need carefully targeted linguistic support to help them attain the level of English they need to make the learning of academic concepts easier. In the early and late stages, each proficiency level encompasses a range of growth and has an early, middle, and late stage. Students in the later stages of a level demonstrate language features that peak into the next level. Students in the early stages of a new level occasionally demonstrate language features that spike down to the previous level. Raters should not classify a student in a level unless the student now performs most consistently at that level. When a student is near the border between two levels, graders need to determine at which level the student performs most consistently. This slide shows what the four linguistic domains mean in relation to evaluating the English language development of English learners. Note that the definitions are not tied to academic achievement, but rather to the communication skills that second language learners need in order to use English as an effective medium for academic instruction at the grade level. Communication skills in listening, speaking, reading, and writing are at the core of all academic learning. As shown in the graphic, when content area teachers give ELLs frequent target practice in listening, speaking, reading, and writing in English, they build the English communication skills that enable the ELs to develop or apply critical processing and thinking skills. ELs need frequent opportunities to practice new English vocabulary and language structures. The ELPS students' expectations make sure that these needs are addressed. So, what is the importance of speaking and writing? ELs internalize the English they are exposed to much more readily when they actively practice and use language through speaking and writing activities. Having plenty of speaking and writing opportunities in content area instruction is beneficial for all students, but is particularly important for ELs. So, summarizing, because of their English limitations, ELs are sometimes hesitant to participate in class and reluctant to try to express thoughts and ideas in English. Through the ELPS and the TELPAS, teachers are encouraged to interact more with the ELs and give them frequent opportunities to use and practice their developing English. Teachers used to working with ELs better understand that the way ELs communicate and the way they learn English is a natural part of second language acquisition. This helps teachers put students at ease, which in turn helps ELs feel less reluctant about taking risks and trying to express themselves in English. When teachers collaborate, they learn from each other and share instructional strategies that help their ELs. Linguistically accommodating instruction delivered in English means making it comprehensible to a student who struggles to understand the English language. Any student has difficulty learning challenging academic material when the language used in the instruction is over their heads. Using language at the level of an EL currently that the English learner currently understands helps the students more effectively learn academic content taught in English. Caution. Communicating with ELs only at their current level of understanding is not sufficient. Teachers must also make gradual and deliberate efforts to move students from their current level of English proficiency to higher levels. The PLDs give teachers a roadmap for doing this. Bottom line, effective implementation of ELPS and TELPAS assessment approach throughout the school year helps ELLs to learn English more quickly and to grasp academic concepts and skills more readily. Thank you very much for your time. Next, you will have a short quiz. Have a good day.